Solution-based orientation. Chapter 10. No disturbance in disturbance. Many of us have been at the mercy of our disturbing states for years and years. We have identified with them and suffered when they were intensely present. Short moments, many times cuts through that identification, and through the power of one's own experience, it becomes obvious that there is actually no disturbance in disturbance. As certainty in open intelligence increases, and there is more certainty in natural perfection, there is a greater ability to see that data are more like friends or allies than foes or enemies. As that recognition becomes more certain in our own experience, soon there is no need for any thinking about data or any kind of response to them whatsoever. When people hear about gaining certainty in open intelligence, they sometimes think that it means that disturbing data will disappear completely and will never occur again, and they'll live in a wonderful fairyland where there are only pretty pictures because open intelligence has overcome all the disturbing states. A short moment of the instinctive recognition of open intelligence reveals that disturbing experiences will continue to arise, but that we do not have to be mastered by them. When we see that clearly, then we can recognize self-arising wisdom as the disturbance appears. Gradually, we come to see that all these disturbances are not disturbing unless we allow them to be. By the power of certainty in open intelligence, it becomes clear that these data are self-releasing and are free in their own place. As there is no real disturbance in them anyway, there is nothing that needs to be done about them. As even greater certainty in open intelligence comes about, the data are seen to be completely empty of an independent nature. It's like going into a house that had seemed frightening and finding it to be completely non-threatening. There is nothing there that can be found to be disturbing in any way. Eventually, the data are completely outshone by their own natural perfection. However, it isn't as if natural perfection somehow takes over and eliminates the data. No, we start to see that natural perfection is wholly present within the data. There never has been a division between data, phenomena, and naturally perfect open intelligence. By gradually recognizing this, what seemed to be two before now is not. There is no two anywhere. Unflinching love and wisdom. Life gets really interesting when all our buttons get pushed. Let's say we are with a friend, our partner, a family member, or a work colleague, and they start doing things that annoy us. If we rely on open intelligence instead of going into one of our stories about what they are doing, more and more we will see clearly how to deal with a situation that may have caused us a lot of pain in the past. Because we are so accustomed to reacting in some way when we get annoyed, at first it may be difficult not to react in this usual way. Through short moments many times, we come to recognize that there is a much more natural way to be. Rather than reacting based on habitual patterns of wanting to change, avoid, replace, or micromanage the data, we rely on naturally responsive open intelligence, which is imbued with mental and emotional stability, keen insight, and skillful knowingness of exactly what is needed. The more we do so, the more we realize that we do not want to go to that usual place of reactivity. We keep relying on open intelligence, and if action needs to be taken, we not only know what that action should be, that action will also be compassionate and beneficial by nature. This is very important, and who knows where it will lead. Sometimes people are a bit afraid when they hear something like this, and they think, if I rely on open intelligence instead of reacting, maybe people will walk all over me. Well, anything could happen, but open intelligence has a natural discernment and stability, so whatever does happen, we are relying on the clarity of open intelligence and indwelling certainty in its powers of benefit, compassion, wisdom, and skillfulness. We realize that we no longer need to react. We are unflinching in our love and wisdom without needing other people to be any particular way. 4 key points. There are 4 crucial points to remember when emotionally heated situations get all stirred up. First, recognize that a datum is appearing and rely on open intelligence. So, there is recognition and acknowledgement that data are appearing. Second, allow open intelligence to remain as it is, open and spacious in the appearance of its own dynamic energy. Allow the datum, whatever it is, to come to its full potential. You don't try to suppress it or change it in any way. Let's say that you feel afraid. Relying on open intelligence is not an antidote to the fear. It is the medium for allowing the fear to come to its full potential, hideous, glorious, or whatever it is. Third, see how the datum of fear vanishes naturally without a trace. This is how you come to see that there is nothing to be afraid of and nothing to hold on to either. The 4th key point is the stunning insight into this process of the simultaneous inception, full potentiation, and spontaneous release of the here and now. This most profound insight into this process of the resolution of data is the most profound insight any human being will ever have. At peace with ourselves. Whether we like ourselves or we don't, it really doesn't matter. Whether we've done good things or we've done bad things, or we've done a combination of the two, none of these are proof of our being an individual identity. We may have spent our whole life trying to shape ourselves into a good person, but we've never felt that we have attained that goal. Does that mean that we're a total failure and irredeemable? No, those labels are merely one more way that we have chosen to identify ourselves. In each moment of open intelligence, all appearances are given their due. If we believe the history of everything that we have thought about ourselves, then we are bound to be very erratic. One moment we'll like ourselves, another moment we'll hate ourselves. One moment we'll like other people, another moment we'll have a litany of contempt going on about them. But by getting to know ourselves in a very thoroughgoing way, we see that our shape-shifting identity has never been anything other than clarity, love, and tremendous energy. If someone says to you, "You've got to get rid of the negative ego that's been causing you this trouble for all these years," then you can be sure that that person is not your true friend. Why? Because that advice will keep you on a hamster wheel where you'll always be running after something that can never be attained. Do we want to put our attention on reforming an individual self, Or do we want to recognize our true nature as open intelligence? Tremendous power and energy. The reason we get depressed, worried, angry, jealous, or consumed with desire is because we're experiencing a tremendous amount of energy that we don't know what to do with. It's the energy of the basic state of natural perfection. When we relax our body and mind completely, that energy is completely released to be as it is, rather than it being described in all kinds of ways. Our natural disposition is to be filled with beneficial energy and to be able to proceed in the way that is most beneficial. Our obsessive self-focus dampens down that energy, but by the power of instinctive recognition of open intelligence, the energy is released. The basis of everything is filled with tremendous power and energy. The true meaning of the word empowerment is to experience that energy and power decisively and directly as the very basis of one's own being. This is our own natural, beneficial state, our own natural, beneficial energy. It doesn't need to be cultivated or developed. It's already present. In the simple acknowledgement of it, it becomes evident just like that. Free of suffering. Some of us have been depressed all of our lives, and we think we'll never be able to fully get out of the depression. But no matter what the appearances are or how gripping they may seem, when we discover the basis of those appearances, which is open intelligence itself, those labels don't stick anymore. If we feel like we are really in the grip of something and we feel driven to act in a particular way to relieve our anxiety or depression, we can rely on that, which is the complete relief of all anxiety, panic, and depression, the relaxed nature of our being. A lot of times we have been looking for tricks and gimmicks to get rid of our afflictive data, but these never completely work. Even if we find a way to drown the afflictive states for a while with a joint or a bottle of vodka, when these things wear off, what happens? The afflictive emotions come flooding back. When we become familiar with open intelligence as the ground of depression, we see that the depression itself wouldn't exist without open intelligence. Instead of only knowing the one aspect of depression as something that we have suffered from and need to do something about, we discover the deeper aspect of depression, which is open intelligence. When we get familiar with open intelligence as the ground of the depression, we can maintain open intelligence in the face of depression with no need to alter or change what is arising in any way. We are no longer collapsed into this idea of ourselves as being a victim of depression. We realize that in open intelligence we are really free of the suffering, even though there is suffering. This is completely beyond what can be understood in terms of dualistic thinking. Dualistic thinking says we are either suffering or we are not. But when we rely on open intelligence, we find out something much different. We find that what was afflictive before is no longer afflictive. This is how we come to see the power of open intelligence. I am not saying that these afflictive states disappear. What I am saying is that when we rely on open intelligence, we no longer see them as something that can alter our well-being. In maintaining unalterable, unchangeable open intelligence, It becomes more and more obvious to us that what appears in open intelligence, because it only is open intelligence, cannot alter or change open intelligence. No matter what appears, its appearance is a vivid appearance of open intelligence. Afflictive states, our greatest allies. When afflictive states come up, it can be very difficult to recognize the natural ease of our own being, because everything in us is screaming, "No, no, this feels too awful. It can't possibly be part of open intelligence." That's the most important time of all to just relax. When we relax more and more, we begin to see that all the data that appear within open intelligence are our allies instead of our foes. When these appearances appear, we recognize inherent open intelligence. It could be that all of our lives we have been afraid of the afflictive states, but through open intelligence we are now able to see them as old friends. Afflictive states are a great support for relying on open intelligence. However, if we continue to exclude them as if they didn't belong in open intelligence, then we will be returning to them again and again. If, for instance, we have a pain in the body and we're focused only on that pain, then that is all we'll see. But if we relax body and mind completely, then we can see this pain that is appearing is nothing other than an appearance of superintelligence and flawless knowing. If we absolutely insist that we have a pain and it is our pain, then that's the only information we will have, and we won't be able to see it for what it truly is. But one thing is for sure about experiencing pain: it motivates us to look for relief from the pain. This is why afflictive states are our greatest friends. Without them, we might never be moved to discover our ultimate nature. When we get familiar with our ultimate nature, we just feel better all the time. There is no other way to say it. It's not a mysterious or esoteric matter. Our true nature doesn't belong to any kind of category, institution, philosophy, or religion. It has never been owned by any country or by any person. We can either get familiar with it or not. When we do get familiar with it, then we pass completely beyond cause and effect. We see that all these appearances really are allies, and we have never been at their whim. It's all in what we take them to be. If we take them to be a monster, they will be. If we think we are ruled by them, then we will be. The more we know ourselves as we truly are, the more we see that we really are not affected by the labels we have used to describe everything. Lions at the gate. Negative states are always with us, no matter who we are. They are unpredictable, countless and ceaseless, and are part of the dynamic energy of open intelligence. At some point in our lives, we may come face to face with an extremely afflictive state, and if we're lucky, we won't be able to ignore it. It will come up full force. There it will be, and we will be thinking, "Gee, I thought I could avoid that one, but now here it is again." Not only is it there, but we can't get rid of it. These negative states need to be dealt with face-to-face as the reality of ourselves, not by ignoring them, not by trying to beat them into submission, and not by trying to erase them from our experience. These afflictive emotional states are the lions at the gate of complete certainty in open intelligence. When these afflictive states come up, it might be very difficult for us to really see that they too are the face of open intelligence and nothing else. When the afflictive states come at us full force, this is the time when it is really important to have support. Maybe we have already integrated all the positive and neutral data as open intelligence, but when we face these negative things, we see why we need to rely on someone who has integrated their own negative data as open intelligence and who knows what it is like to pass through the lions at the gate. When the afflictive states arise with great vehemence, we have the choice to either go into them and be ruled by them, or to know ourselves as open intelligence. If we have difficulty in seeing that the afflictive states are nothing other than pure open intelligence, then that is a good time to seek support. We should go to people who have integrated their own negative data, because these are the only people who can truly help us. Clarifying anger. Maybe in the past you have had situations where you got angry at someone and exploded at them, but afterwards you thought, maybe that wasn't such a good choice, and you felt really remorseful, or rather than feeling remorseful, maybe you felt self-righteous indignation. What do they know? They deserved it. I'm right. Whichever it might have been, it is clear that getting uncontrollably angry with someone is not a friendly or cooperative response to a situation. We begin to see how these reactions have harmed us and harmed others. We see that recognizing open intelligence in the face of extremely negative data is a better alternative than acting them out. Even though we may not be able to stop these data from appearing, when they do appear, we can at least see that recognizing open intelligence is a better alternative than exploding in anger. Let's say that something happens that has caused us to get very angry in the past. The real breakthrough of true open intelligence comes when we're right in the middle of the anger and we really get it, firsthand and right away, that everything is included in open intelligence. When we can face anger or any other afflictive emotion squarely, exactly as it is, allowing naked seeing from within, that releases tremendous energy to be able to really see things for what they are. Very strong data like anger are based on trying to defend and protect ourselves. What are we trying to protect and defend? Our self-styled individuality, which is what we take ourselves to be. When we start to directly experience open intelligence and gain certainty in it, we don't have to figure everything out about why we do what we do. Do I have a right to be angry? Can I be calmer so I don't get angry even when I have a right to be? Why can't I control my anger? We give up reliance on intellectual speculation, and we rely on open intelligence alone. In our own experience, we come to see that open intelligence is a better value proposition than any of our data. Totally free. There are many examples of people who have gained certainty in open intelligence, and so many of them report the same thing. It was their times of greatest adversity, whether it was war, famine, illness, financial disaster, loss of family and friends, terribly afflictive states, that increased their certainty in open intelligence the most. There could be a lot of detours one could take, However, if the commitment is to open intelligence, then there aren't really any detours. Open intelligence is greatly comforting and provides a relief that is like nothing else. To rely on open intelligence is very self-reinforcing because it's clear that to do so is much better than relying on data. It's a lot easier to rely on open intelligence with the support of a trainer, a training, and a community. Not only is it easier, it's also a lot more fun. If you really commit in this way, then very quickly you will recognize that open intelligence has been present all along, but that you just hadn't noticed it. Initially, it's important to not be distracted by the negative states or perpetuate them by getting all wrapped up in your descriptions of them. As you gain more certainty in open intelligence, you could have the same negative state appear in full force, but you'd nevertheless be totally free. You enjoy everything a lot more by not needing it to be any certain way. The ultimate freedom is in open intelligence, because from there you're totally free to be anywhere, in any situation, and with anyone. You know what to do and how to act at all times. Knowing the solution. If you get scared, angry, desirous, jealous, or if you think you are an idiot, the only resort is open intelligence. We all have feelings that come to us that we can't stop. We may think that we don't measure up, or we are the greatest on earth, or we are somewhere in between. But none of these self-assessments mean anything. Stay with open intelligence and everything will be seen for what it is. Social phobia, fear, panic attacks, anxiety, and such things are actually normal responses to a life based on point of view, so don't feel you are abnormal if you experience any of these things. These are normal responses to a life based on describing everything, giving the descriptions meaning, and trying to hold the descriptions at bay. By the power of open intelligence, all of these kinds of fear are completely overcome. However, fearlessness can't come about by analyzing the mechanisms of fear or knowing more about fear. It can only come about through acknowledging the basis of fear, which is open intelligence. All the while, the fear and phobias that you have taken to be so powerful and to be something that can hurt you are what will set you free. Your very freedom lies in recognizing that open intelligence is the basis of all of these things. It would be impossible to even know what the descriptions of fear, panic, and social phobia are without open intelligence. This is the significance of relying on open intelligence for short moments, many times as all these appearances come up in us. Short moments, many times may seem too simple or like it couldn't possibly work, but it is elegant and robust, and it will take you all the way to certainty in open intelligence. You can really count on that. By focusing on those short moments, you won't have to worry about the other stuff. It will completely subside. Just stay with what works. Once you recognize open intelligence, there is no way to turn away from it. You can't go back to living in a fearful, anxiety-ridden, and overwhelmed state. Once you know the solution, you definitely don't want to go back and live in the problem because you've seen what the solution is. Even if you feel like you are not making any headway in relying on open intelligence, it doesn't matter because you have seen the solution. We all want to be happy, and it's actually a very simple equation. Open intelligence plus data equals happiness, because data and open intelligence are equal. Believing that data are one thing and open intelligence is another thing is the crux of the problem. As human beings, we'll all go through the process of life. We are born, we live a life, and then we die. One great master of open intelligence said at the end of his life with his face glowing with joy, "Oh yes, life is just one disappointment after another." That's getting real. Life is one disappointment after another. We have wanted to stop our disappointing data, but that is a big mistake. The more disappointing, the better, because the more disappointing they are, the more likely we are to gain certainty in open intelligence.